Judges are supposed to uphold the law. So what happens if they're ignoring it? And that in turn helps them collect possibly tens of thousands of extra dollars a year in cash. Tonight, we investigate New Orleans judges who officiate weddings and the money they make.
I kind of laughed and I was like, yeah, sure, why not?
When why not turned to I do, Michelle English opted for convenience.
We were just talking one day and I said, pick a date. We'll go to the courthouse.
Michelle and Lyle drove a few minutes away from their West Bank home to New Orleans' Second City Court, the Algiers courthouse. The secretary told them the judge charged $100 and they must bring cash.
I thought it was a little expensive.
Their 1 o'clock wedding started 90 minutes late after the judge returned from lunch. How long was the ceremony?
It wasn't that long at all. I mean, really.
5-10 minutes?
Maybe. Maybe.
But what they're learning from our investigation has them feeling ripped off.
That's not cool at all.
And a Tulane law professor outraged.
This is shocking.
4 New Orleans judges perform weddings in their courthouse. Hey, how much does it cost to get married by your judge? In First City Court, next door to City Hall, judges Angelique Reed, Veronica Henry, and Monique Murrow charge $80 to officiate a wedding in the courthouse during the workday. You said $100 for a ceremony? On the West Bank at the Algiers courthouse, Judge Tina Anderson-Trahan charges $100. And according to financial disclosure forms all 4 judges filed with the state Supreme Court, they keep that money as additional compensation, between $5,000 and $25,000 a year.
They're not supposed to get salary supplements for doing this on the side. I mean, you know, they're not judges for hire. This is not Judge Judy.
Tulane law professor Joel Friedman says no part of the law allows the judges to pocket this money.
This is just a salary supplement that is unlawful.
And it's clear to you it's unlawful.
Absolutely.
You've read the law.
Yes.
No doubt.
No doubt.
Clear in writing.
Yes. I don't know how they could explain otherwise, other than this is the tradition. Everybody's always done it this way.
For proof, let's dig into state law. First and Second City Court salaries cannot exceed the salary of New Orleans criminal and civil court judges. It's important to note the law specifically defines salary as the total annual compensation paid directly or indirectly from all sources for services as judge. According to those financial disclosure forms, each criminal or civil district court judge makes $149,000 a year. For example, here's Civil District Court Judge Paulette Irons' disclosure form. But look now at the form for all 4 city court judges. When you total up their salaries, all 4 make $149,000, about the same as those criminal and civil district court judges. But then look at the miscellaneous income, an additional $5,000 to $25,000 for officiating weddings. In fact, 3 of the judges specifically list the type of additional income as judicial or judge. This money should be staying with the court.
Absolutely.
If the money is supposed to remain with the court and the judges are keeping this money instead, what does that mean?
I believe that they are misusing public funds.
Misuse of public funds.
I would think
serious.
so. Yes, Lee, this is very serious. The amount of money is irrelevant. Irrelevant. I don't care if it was $500. I would like to know why these judges believe they are entitled to payment for judicial functions they are performing in the courthouse during the working day. Where do they think they have the authority to get this additional supplement to their salary? If their salaries aren't good enough, they should stay in private practice.
According to financial disclosure forms, this has been going on for at least a decade. Judges being paid as much as $25,000 more than the law allows.
This is part of their job. They're doing it during the workday, at their workplace.
State law does allow city judges in Alexandria and Monroe to receive additional compensation for officiating a wedding. Friedman says that strongly suggests if the legislature intended judges in New Orleans to pocket wedding fees, it would have indicated so in the law.
It cuts to the integrity of the judicial process. That's what's so upsetting about this.
The 4 judges declined our request for an on-camera interview. They tell us they have no record of how many weddings they officiate a year. But there's more. A section of state law does address weddings in First and Second City Court. It says for every marriage in the courthouse during office hours,
there shall be a charge of $5.
Wow.
Really? $5.
Wow. $5. Damn, we got shafted.
Yeah.
That means, according to the law, the judge overcharged Michelle and Lael $95 and possibly did the same thing to every other couple, tying the knot.
I just would like to know where the money's going.
While Judge Tina Anderson Trahan married Michelle and Lael, she earned her regular salary that day. But the judge also paid herself their wedding fee, an additional $100 in cash, a small slice of the thousands of extra dollars she takes in every year. Money likely meant for the court, getting pocketed by people elected to uphold the law.
You show me proof of that, that's wrong. It is. That there's no excuse for that, really. And I don't feel good about it. And I mean, how many other people have they taken advantage of?
I think this raises significant questions. The compensation statute is very clear that the city court judges are not supposed to get compensation in excess of a district judge.
Dane Cialino is an expert on ethics. Our investigation found New Orleans City Court judges have been keeping this money for at least a decade.
This practice has been going on for as long as anyone can remember. And I'm sure the judges sitting there now just continued what those before them and before them have been doing. I don't think anybody's stepped back until perhaps now to take a look at the statutory scheme to see that there really is a significant question about whether this is appropriate.
City court judges handle small claims cases, and the law allows them to officiate weddings in the courthouse. The judges have also apparently not been following another part of the law. It states they can charge a $5 fee for weddings in the courthouse during work hours. But in First City Court on the East Bank, judges charge $80. On the West Bank at the Algiers Courthouse, $100.
The statute's very clear on that if the wedding takes place in the courthouse, then the judge and the clerk should not be charging more than a flat $5 fee.
Judges you elected to uphold the law will not answer questions about concerns they may be improperly pocketing public money.
Yeah, our investigation found 4 New Orleans City Court judges charging couples more than the law allows to perform marriages in their courtrooms. Tonight we meet one New Orleanian who says a judge's fee almost doubled because she wanted to get married on the most romantic day of the year. Erin Earl wanted a quaint, intimate wedding. A friend told her about Second City Court, the Algiers courthouse. Her fiance picked the date.
He said, well, let's just do it Valentine's Day 2018. Great, let's do that.
So she called the office of Judge Tina Anderson Trahan, and her unfortunate experience began.
The clerk was very rude.
Days before the wedding, the judge's staff mistakenly sent her to the East Bank to get additional paperwork. Then on the wedding day, the judge was late.
There were other families showing up. Well, we all had a 1 o'clock appointment. We knocked on the door because the judge's door was closed. No one came out or said anything, just said, they would return at 1:30.
The line of Valentine's brides became impatient.
The brides are literally sweating their makeup out because it's so hot.
What happened next made Earl and her soon-to-be husband even hotter. State law allows these judges to charge just $5 for a wedding in the courthouse. Typically, Judge Anderson Trahan charges $100, but not this day.
I asked why I was being charged $180, and I was told because it was a holiday. It was Valentine's Day. And I said, well, I was not aware that Valentine's Day was a true holiday. And she said, well, that's our fee.
Anderson Trahan and the city court judges have been pocketing that money. Legal experts say that's against the law. Earl started asking the other brides what they paid.
Another couple said that they were charged more.
How much more?
They were charged over $200.
Earl thought the fee would be lower, closer to the $100 that's normally charged. So relatives had to help her scrounge together the extra money.
That seems very shady.
And when she asked for a proof of payment,
they don't give receipts. They only deal in cash.
The judges, who are also elected officials, refused our request for an on-camera interview.
These judges are getting money. They are getting funding into their pocket for work they are performing, which they are delegated to perform by statute in the courtroom as a judge. And it's just inexplicable to me.
After our story aired, we wanted to know if they were still keeping the wedding money as additional compensation and if they were still charging more than the law allowed. They all told us no comment.
I mean, these are judges, right? These are not taxi drivers. These are not waiters, right? They don't get paid by the job. They don't get tips. Because if that starts to be the process, then where does it end? Why is the performing of this judicial function any different than every other judicial function that they perform, whatever that is? What's the difference?
This week, a producer called the offices of all 4 judges. Judge Anderson Trahan's secretary told us they've stopped performing weddings and referred us to Jefferson Parish. Judge Angelique Reed's secretary also said they weren't scheduling weddings. Judge Veronica Henry's office got our number and said they would call us back. They never did. And according to the person who answered the phone in Judge Monique Morial's office, she still charges $80 and is still scheduling weddings.
There's no accountability. There's no oversight.
Aaron Earl wants to know if the judges have been paying taxes on this extra money and says something needs to happen to these 4 people who were elected to hold others accountable to the laws of this state.
I think there should be some type of investigation. I think there should be some type of legal action. And I think there should at least be an apology to the brides and the families over the course of the years. I don't know how long this has been going on, that, you know, on behalf of the city, that this shouldn't have happened. That we should not have been taken advantage of just because we were in the midst of a joyous occasion.
2 experts say findings in our latest investigation could catch the attention of investigators. A judge told the Supreme Court she made less than $25,000 in cash officiating weddings. But new information we received from the state suggests she could have earned nearly double that amount. Here's our new investigation, Misjudged. $100 bills right into the pockets of judges.
At a minimum, and it's much more than this, is unseemly.
In 1 year, one New Orleans judge may have received a $100 bill 473 times.
Do the math.
The math shows she could have pocketed as much as $47,300 in cash.
It's beyond frustration, Lee.
A Fox 8 investigation revealed judges in New Orleans' 1st and 2nd city courts overcharge couples for their weddings. The law says the judges can charge $5 for a wedding, but at the Algiers courthouse, Judge Tina Anderson Trahan made couples pay $100. Legal experts say the law also requires the judges to deposit that money into the court's bank account, but instead the judges kept the money as extra income.
For a judge to say, I don't know the law that regulates my job as a judge, either they're not telling the truth, or equally bad, maybe worse, they're ignorant of the law that regulates their position.
The state keeps a copy of every marriage license, on it the officiant and the location and time of the wedding. The state's Vital Records Office sent us this spreadsheet that shows how many weddings each city court judge presided over the past few years. It shows in 2015, 2nd City Court Judge Tina Anderson Trahan officiated 415 weddings. In 2016, 463. And last year, 473 weddings.
Now we have a real problem.
A problem for 2 reasons. Every year, Judge Anderson Trahan files a financial disclosure statement with the state Supreme Court. On it, she signs a sworn statement that the information is true and correct. Anderson Trahan claimed to make between $5,000 and $25,000 officiating weddings. Again, she charged $100 a wedding, and last year officiated 473, netting as much as $47,000. Tulane law professor Joel Friedman says that likely means she either didn't keep all of the money, performed 223 free weddings, or misreported her earnings to the Supreme Court.
She may be not only understating it on her judicial ethics form, she may be also understating it on her income tax form, because this is clearly compensation that has to be declared as income on your federal income tax and your state income tax.
Could be serious.
That's a big-time felony.
And that could be her other problem. If Anderson Trahan did in fact earn that much money and didn't alert the Supreme Court of the full amount, CPA Patrick Lynch questions whether she could be underreporting her earnings to the IRS.
Well, the implication is if she hasn't, then she's subject to a substantial underpayment penalty and could possibly face civil and criminal fraud.
We asked Anderson Trahan if she shared any of the wedding money with office staff, if she gave any free weddings, and how much money she reported to the IRS for wedding income. She refused to comment.
Yeah, there should be an investigation, and the question I would ask as a taxpayer, where is the oversight?
CPA Patrick Lynch wants the IRS, state, and Supreme Court to investigate.
What are they doing to oversee this?
The data provided by the state shows all 4 judges stopped officiating weddings in mid-May. In fact, 2 judges officiated their last wedding the day our story aired. Not one has married a couple since.
It's an admission that they shouldn't have been doing it in the first place.
In 6 years, Judge Tina Anderson Trahan could have collected as much as $219,000 in cash, money that Joel Friedman says she should return to the court and the couples, where the law says that money belongs.
They should not be allowed to keep money that they now would admit they received in violation of the law, even though they would allege they didn't realize it was in violation of law. And these are judges saying, gee, I didn't know the law.
A state senator is calling for the Judiciary Commission to investigate judges who overcharge New Orleanians for weddings.
Anyone that isn't following the law, there should be an investigation and perhaps consequences for doing that.
The State Judiciary Commission is looking into 4 New Orleans judges who we discovered overcharge couples for weddings. A source tells us the commission received several complaints and will determine if it warrants any action. Tonight, we have new findings that raise serious questions about one judge. Here's Misjudged. Ricky Jenkins married a New Orleans girl. You know what that means. He was getting married in her hometown.
Of course, I have to do what she says do, so.
The couple moved to Langston, Oklahoma, but for 6 years he lived in New Orleans and even worked as a courthouse clerk.
It's a little bit disappointing, man,
Jenkins says he's disturbed to find out judges have overcharged thousands of couples for weddings and pocketed tens of thousands of dollars in wedding fees the law says the court should keep.
It's really disturbing that you hold a position like that and you are taking from the public.
Since he no longer lives in New Orleans, Jenkins found out about our stories when he received a letter. We sent one to every person married by Second City Court Judge Tina Anderson Trahan in 2017, asking them how much she charged. We paid a company to stuff the envelopes and included a stamped return card. We heard from more than 100 and then for 2 months called couple after couple, trying to determine how much they all paid.
Lee, this is very serious.
Here's why we wanted answers to that critical question. Each judge has to fill out a financial disclosure form yearly and send it to the state Supreme Court. Each year, Anderson Trahan told the court she made less than $25,000 officiating weddings. But if you do the math, the numbers didn't appear to add up. For example, in 2017, Anderson Trahan officiated 473 weddings. The The law allows the judges to charge just $5, but in Algiers, Anderson Trahan charged $100 a wedding. If she made each couple pay that amount, then she would have misreported her earnings to the state Supreme Court.
These are very serious forms. I mean, this is one of the ways we monitor what judges do. It's no different than filing an income tax return. This is a very serious breach of judicial ethics.
Respondent after respondent told us the judge charged them $100, sometimes even higher. One postcard noted it was a really lovely ceremony, but she was an hour late. Another, she made our wedding special and was very kind. We are truly hurt and disappointed by her behavior. All totaled, we reached 280 people married in 2017, and all told us Judge Anderson Trahan charged them $100 or more.
When you get 200 responses and every single one of them tells you the same story, they didn't all get together at a party somewhere and say, let's tell Lee Zirk a lie, right? So this is, I'm sure, quite accurate.
To Tulane law professor Joel Friedman, it's strong evidence Anderson Trahan misreported her income to the Supreme Court.
Since we've talked about it publicly, I've talked about it privately with judges who are friends of mine, state court judges or former state court judges who know the system very well. And this is a very serious offense, they have all told me, something that would have to go to the Supreme Court.
The Judiciary Commission will take some time to review and then investigate the complaints. An investigation, Friedman says, could lead to suspension or termination.
It's no explanation from the judges to say, oh, I didn't know. I didn't know that $100 was not the right amount. How can that be? That's the law that regulates their job. You know, that's like telling me the Tulane's policies on how I'm supposed to behave in the classroom. Oh, I didn't know that was the policy. That's ridiculous.
Ricky Jenkins called Judge Anderson Trahan nice during the wedding. Now he wants more checks and balances for people elected to provide those same checks and balances on the citizens they serve.
When you look at today's state of the economy, employment, things of that nature, we need to be more stringent on people that hold offices of that nature, of that magnitude, that is actually disseminating the law.
The Judiciary Commission is a 9-member appointed board. If they find any wrongdoing on any complaint, the commission ultimately makes a recommendation of discipline to the state Supreme Court. We've been doing these stories for about 6 months now, and the judges have had no comment for quite some time now.